Hello, my name is Remy, and today we're going to be ranking all Deftones albums from worst to best. Yes, the one and only iconic alternative metal band, Deftones. They have released 9 full-length albums over the span of 25 years, and they are my favorite band of all time. I'm surprised I haven't done a ranking on them yet because I've been listening to them for quite a long time and already fully made up my mind about all of their albums to where my opinion usually doesn't change. I guess I haven't done a video on them because I listened to them so much. I kinda got a little tired of it. I mean, I was literally listening to Deftones on repeat for months and months and months every single day. I own every single Deftones CD except for one, and also have most of their vinyls. I think they have one of the strongest discographies from any band in the entire world. They have countless incredible albums and zero mediocre ones. Every album is at least a 7 out of 10 for me. So let's just take a look into their catalog and rank it from worst to best. At number 9, we have their 1995 debut album, Adrenaline. This is back when Deftones used to be nu metal, and while I like this album and it has quite a few bangers on it, it's by far their weakest album. It's clear that they were just trying to find their sound here, and for a debut album it's good, but the gap between this and the next one even on the list is pretty big. This is the only album from them I would consider to be like a 7 out of 10, which means I still like it, and it is very replayable with some tracks, just not the Deftones we all know and love today. Favorite tracks would be Bored, Engine Number 9, 7 Words, Lifter, and Birthmark. At the number 8 spot, we have their 2006 record, Saturday Night Wrist. Now, I have to say that I absolutely love this album. It's just that their discography is just so good, I had to put this album second to last. Saturday Night Wrist was recorded during a so-called dark period for Deftones, and they fully recorded this album remotely by sending stems across rather than being in the studio. And it's nice to see that that didn't affect the quality of the album much, because this album is great, but it does make it just a little bit more all over the place and messy. It's their first record to fully kind of embrace the shoegaze aesthetic they implemented into their music, and if it wasn't for this album, this style wouldn't be anywhere near today, because Deftones pretty much created it and made it their own. So this is a very important album in their catalog. The production also has quite a few electronic elements. I would definitely call this one of their most experimental records too. And while this album does have the track Pink Cell Phone on it, which is easily Deftones' worst song they've ever put out, it also has some of their strongest points, such as Beware or Cherry Waves. So my favorites would have to be Beware, Cherry Waves, Kim Dracula, Rats Rats Rats, Mine, and Xerxes. Coming up at the number 7 spot is one of their newest records, that being Gore, released in 2016. Now, this is by far their most polarizing album that divides fans the most. Some people love it, some people completely despise it. I'm more on the spectrum of loving it. Not only is this album something wildly different that pushes boundaries with post-rock and ambient influences, but it also has my top 3 favorite Deftones song of all time, that being the track Hearts and Wires, which is just absolutely gorgeous. One of the most beautiful pieces of music I've ever heard. That chorus is just incredible. So that's one thing on Gore. I really love the melodies on this album, especially from Chino. Yes, not every song is perfect and the guitar mix is very loud, but honestly, I still love this album and think it's very overhated. Favorite songs would have to be Hearts and Wires, Phantom Bride, Rubicon, Acid Hologram, and Doomed User. Following Gore at the number 6 spot is their latest album, the 2020's Ohms. We're now in the 9 out of 10 realm of albums. Now, I'll admit, the first time I heard this album, it was easily my least favorite Deftones album. I just didn't like it, like, at all. But obviously this thing grew on me monstrously, and I think I was just in a bad mood listening to it for the first time, because I really came to love this album pretty quickly after that. I mean, it's your classic Deftones, but it's probably their most mature project yet. The production here almost feels exquisite, despite some of the tracks going super hard, such as the intro track Genesis. Chino's vocals on this album are fantastic, and the songwriting is one of their best so far. It doesn't necessarily have extreme high points for me, like Gore had, but it's also way more consistent and still has songs I absolutely love on it. So my favorite tracks would have to be Genesis, Ohms, Urantia, Pompeii, The Smell of Mathematics, the Spell of Mathematics, not the smell, Ceremony, and Error. Next up at number 5, we have their first album after White Pony, their 2003's self-titled Deftones record. This is by far their darkest and heaviest album, and I personally love dark music, and Deftones do it extremely well here with countless amazing riffs and songs. It's not just aggressivity though, there are also melodic songs on here such as Minerva. This album definitely stands out in the Deftones discography, and I personally absolutely love it and think it's very underrated by a lot of Deftones fans. I mean, how could you not like something like When Girls Telephone Boys? I mean, that song is just straight up vicious and has extremely impressive screams from Chino, as well as incredible riffs. I don't know, I personally love this album all the way through. I think it's amazing. My favorite tracks would have to be When Girls Telephone Boys, Good Morning Beautiful, Hexagram, Anniversary of an Uninteresting Event, which is just beautiful and kind of sad, Bloody Cape, and Deathblow. At the number 4 spot, we have Deftones' sophomore record, Around the Fur. This is the last album from them that has the nu metal elements in it, kinda, but I think it's a drastic improvement from Adrenaline, and it is easily one of the best nu metal albums of all time. It feels more polished, more hard-hitting, with better songwriting and greater production. This album has some of the most band's classic songs to date, and the first glimpse of their shoegaze sound they will rather fully develop later, with the track Be Quiet and Drive Far Away, of course. It's a necessary stepping stone album for the band, and I personally love it all the way through. It's also very accessible, and overly it just slaps every way, shape, or form. My favorite songs will be Quiet and Drive, My Own Summer, Head Up, Around the Fur, Mascara, and honestly even their outro MX, even if it's like 38 minutes long with a bonus track. I love the first song on it. Settling at number 3, we have their 2010 record, Diamond Eyes. Now this one is pretty much tied with number 2. Both of them could honestly be interchangeable for me depending on my mood and on the day. This top 3 is the territory of pretty much completely perfect, flawless albums from Deftones. Diamond Eyes is somehow one of the most melodic records they have released, yet it's also one of their heaviest ones. And I'd say this is like the most alternative metal album they have released. Like this screams alternative metal. I can only describe this album with one word, and that would be euphoric. It's just euphoric. It's orgasmic. It sounds incredible. This is probably my second most played album from them. It has extreme replay value with its incredible riffs, production, vocals, and lyrics. Also, Abe went absolutely bananas on the drums here. I mean, just listen to a song like You've Seen the Butcher. The drums on it are just so insanely hard. Overall, it's a beautiful yet energetic album with everything you need, not only from a Deftones record, but from any new modern alt metal album in general. This album is sequenced perfectly and has a lot of variety within its track list, and every single song on here slaps. It's one of the best albums I've ever heard. This is just nothing short of fantastic. My favorite songs would have to be Sex Tape, You've Seen the Butcher, Diamond Eyes, Rocket Skates, Command Control, Risk, 976 Evil, Beauty School, and Royal. Pretty much all the songs, honestly. And at the second place on the list, we have an album that came out just 2 years after Diamond Eyes, the 2012's No Yokan. Now, this album took a while to grow on me, but once it grew, it grew. And yeah, now it's one of the most beautiful albums I've ever heard. Just an absolute masterpiece that doesn't get old and has some of the most fantastic of riffs, vocals, and song ideas ever. This album also runs incredibly, with every song transitioning into the previous one. The variety on here too is insane. Like the songs switch from headbanging to just pure orgasm, and you really don't know what to expect. It's also their most shoegaze-influenced record yet. The fact that Deftones managed to pull off another 10 out of 10 masterpiece album after 12 years after White Pony and just 2 years after Diamond Eyes just amazes me. Like, they're still just as good as they were before. That's why they're my favorite band of all time, and they deserve that title. Also, the track Entombed is one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard, let me tell you. So yeah, this album is nothing short of perfect. Favorite tracks would be Entombed, Poltergeist, Swerve City, Gauze, Rosemary, Leathers, Tempest, Goon Squad, Romantic Dreams, and that's it. Yeah, maybe Graphic Nature too. I love that song too. And of course, at the number one place, we have their 2000 record, White Pony. I think this was very expected. I mean, not putting this at number one would be a crime. It's one of the greatest albums to ever be released. It's definitely up there in my top three. Matter of fact, I'd say it's number two just after Volume Alpha by C418, which is my favorite album of all time. This album single-handedly got me into metal, it got me into alt metal, and every single subgenre that exists. I don't know what I would be without this masterpiece. Chino is literally one of the most incredible vocalists to ever exist. His vocal range is absolutely insane. Just listen to Digital Bath. His voice is incredibly versatile, with 1 second being sexy and pleasant and the other second doing just impressive screams and screeches. His songwriting is also absolutely genius and unmatched, creating an incredible story that ties everything together in this album. The song ideas are obscure, yet in your face. I'm absolutely obsessed with the darkness this album has to offer, the drop C-sharp tunings, that's just exactly my cup of tea. And the tracklist has an insane variety of angry bangers, melodic bangers, slow jams. It has everything, literally everything, and every single style is done perfectly. The production is also fantastic. It just sounds so amazing on the ears. Just absolute insanity. White Pony also has some of the best guitar work on any album and the best guitar tone ever. Yes, the best guitar tone of any album ever. No band has a guitar tone that sounds this good. It's such a trademark sound for Deftones, and they execute it so perfectly. It makes the riffs slap so much more. I really don't know what about the tones appeal to me so much, other than it just sounds flawlessly perfect and is exactly the kind of sound I like. I absolutely love the dark riffage on this album. Like, Stefan really went in on this album. He went it. He gave it 110%. Also, this album really never gets old. It's timeless. I play this thing every single day for months and months and months and months and months, and just nothing. It just doesn't get old ever. It's such a timeless piece of metal music and sounds extremely ahead of its time. If you listen to it blindfolded in 2023, not knowing who it was released by, you would have no idea that it was released in the year 2000, because it's just so freaking ahead of its time and will be in decades. I mean, just listen to like other new metal bands and just bands in general in 2000. There's no record that sounds this timeless. This band managed to take the new metal sound, add their own sauce to it, and then transform it into their own fucking genre. Like, Deftones should have a trademark to own, like, shoegazy alternative metal. They created this genre. It's their own. There's no band that sounds like them or sounded like them back in the day. Of course, there are imitators, but none of them have the success of this band because they're not simply that special. Deftones are just that special. And it's not like they fell off after this album. No. They kept releasing absolute masterpieces without a single underwhelming album in their catalog. They have zero misses. So not only did they drop this groundbreaking masterpiece, but they kept going, releasing more of them. Like, one on top of another. Other than Radiohead, no band has ever done this in the history of music. Okay, and Pink Floyd. Sure, Radiohead, Pink Floyd. That's it. That's the top three, the holy three. That's why they are my favorite band of all time. And my favorite tracks would be every single song, but Digital Bath is my top one. Yeah, that's. So yeah, that was my Deftones album ranking. Let me know if you liked it and comment down below your ranking. I would love to see it. Also, check me out on this wonderful site, Album of the Year. It's a music reviewing site, just in case you didn't know. Link is in the description. And also subscribe for more. So yeah, that's about it. It's Remy's Review signing out, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.